Good evening, Mrs. Moses. Happy New Year, everyone. Good evening.
Happy New Year's. Hello, everyone.
Same to you.
Hey, everybody, it's Warren. Happy
Hi,
New Year.
Warren. Happy
Hey,
New
Pat.
Year, Warren.
Hey,
Can we
happy
see how
New
you
Year.
look for the new
Happy-
year?
Excuse me?
Can we see what you look like for the new year?
Of course. In fact, I happen to be wearing my New Year's outfit.
Oh, you got a tie on, huh?
Huh? Hold on, let me do this. No. There I am.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. How are you,
Oh.
Miss Mia?
Huh?
How are you?
Everything is good. Hi, Mr. Thomas. How are you?
Good, Warren.
Good.
I'm fine. Nice to be with you.
Same here. It's good to be here.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Hi, Suki. Can
Hi,
we see you
Suki.
Happy
too?
New Year.
For the
Suki.
new
Hey,
year?
happy New Year.
Hi.
We want to see what people look like for the new year.
Don't worry. No new crazy hairdo or anything like that.
Well, I haven't seen you with a crazy hairdo yet, though.
Oh, just wait.
Oh, I gotta wait. Okay.
You see, I don't have that
You
luxury.
just threw down a challenge, Pat.
We're gonna wait for about 3 more minutes for other people to come on.
Hey, before the meeting starts, I was just reading about Governor Herschel, whatever her name is, her plans for, her suggestions for getting more housing. And essentially, what she's requested, she's projecting 800,000 units. Okay, so we've all heard that before. But she's suggesting that all land around a subway station or a transit station within a half-mile be rezoned to encourage more housing.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So, Warren, these politicians always talk in generalities, but
correct.
my feeling is that those comments are not really aimed at New York City, because the way she says any municipality that has a train station, I mean, obviously we have many train stations, but there are those towns and cities that have exactly one.
Correct.
And, that might be the only place where they could build housing for people who don't have
No,
cars.
that's correct. That's correct. My impression from reading it was aimed at New York City. So take a look at it, and I can certainly be wrong.
And the other thing is, a couple of years ago, they passed this city planning passed this zoning for transit amendment, which already gives a certain amount of upzoning if you're within a certain, it's kind of like a transit easement
I got
within
you.
a
Okay,
certain distance of a train station.
okay.
But you know,
Anyway,
there are a lot of two-fare zones. And some people can't get to a train station unless they take a bus, you know that, right? Right,
Yep.
like
Yeah.
out in Brownsville.
But I mean, yeah, like even, if you go out to whatever, some parts of the Bronx and Queens, they're only served by Metro North or LIRR. And the city is definitely looking at some of those LIRR stations, and they're expanding the Metro North in the Bronx. They're adding some new stations, and I think they are looking at a lot of development around those stations. But
Yeah.
if you look at the city in general, like if you mapped out the density of development along the subway lines, it's already much higher along the subway lines than anywhere else. So, like we've been there, done that, we did that in the 1920s and 30s.
Well, anyway, I think we need to start the meeting. It's 7:05. So let's officially start. And we have. Okay. You with me, Suki? You didn't say anything?
Yes, I
Oh, okay.
am.
All right. So yeah, we're gonna officially start. Well, now it's 7:06, right?
Okay,
So we'll officially
got it.
start. Okay, so the meeting is called to order at 7:06. And the rules of order for Community Board 9 are in place. Again, if you want to speak, we're going to ask you to please raise your hand. And you'll be able to speak. And we're going to also ask people to respect one another. We don't want to talk across one another or anything like that. Again, I want to welcome all the members and the guests. And again, I want to wish everyone a happy new year and hope this year everybody is safe and in good health. So first on the agenda, I don't think Alicia is here. I had her on the agenda. So we'll go to B, the subcommittee on City of Yes and the Citizens Budget Commission. Suki, you want to give us an update on when your meeting was held and what transpired?
Sure. So we met last week on January 3rd. We had the subcommittee members. We had, I think, 3 or 4 guests. And we reviewed some of the documents and the proposals in question. I think that there were still a lot of open questions about what is really being proposed. So we came up with a list at the end of questions and concerns that we would like to forward to the Department of City Planning. So I just wrote that down and I can just read that. And Nicola and John, you can keep me honest if I've missed anything or misstated anything. So number 1 was, how much do you plan to decrease the dwelling unit factor for larger multifamily buildings? And which zoning categories or what building sizes would this apply to? The concern is that District 9 needs family-oriented and family-sized housing, as well as housing for singles. A lot of 1 to 3 family homes have already been demolished and replaced by apartment buildings designed for transient singles. Number 2 is, how would the text amendments affect existing CB9 requests for preservation and downzoning throughout our community to prevent unexpectedly large and out of context buildings and demolitions that affect our quality of life and the structural integrity of our homes? Our analysis shows that the zoning amendments would lead to an enormous number of demolitions throughout our district, including tens of thousands of new units of housing. Number 3, how would the text amendments promote equitable development as outlined in HPD's Where We Live study? Our analysis shows that wealthy white neighborhoods and neighborhoods which have built few or no units of housing in the last 10 years would be largely unaffected by the zoning amendments because they are either mostly landmarked or zoned R1 through R4. Number 4, for the commercial amendments, what would be the impact on nearby residential housing of removing loading berth requirements in manufacturing districts? What is the scope of this change? Number 5, can you give details about the electric vehicle charging rules and incentives? Number 6, what incentives will be given to developers over and above the upzonings outlined in the AIRS schedule in the zoning code? And number 7, how many transit zones are there which are more than 1/2 mile from a subway station? And the concern here is that these amendments would remove all parking requirements for new affordable housing that was built within a transit zone.
Okay.
Did I get everything, guys? Is there anything else?
Well, let me just say what I vision the subcommittee is just kind of bring back what it is that we're looking at. Also, we need to look at minutes because I hear you listing things, but the subcommittee is, you meet and you discuss things in detail, and then you just bring a clip back to us as to what it is and why you came to this conclusion, or what is it that you want us to look at?
Yeah, so what we looked at was three things.
So listen to
We
what I'm
looked
saying
at
to you. Yeah, what I'm saying to you.
we looked
is-
at the upzoning schedule that was outlined in the zoning code for the affordable independent residences for seniors, because the City of Yes zoning amendments are going to be based on that upzoning schedule. It's just that it's also going to extend it to all types of affordable housing, not just affordable housing for seniors. We also looked at the Where We Live study by HPD, which was I guess a study by various community groups, and where people talked about, you know, what their concerns and their hopes were for housing and for development. And it's really a lot about what equitable development means. It's about fair housing policy. And then we also looked at a zoning analysis that I did that showed what we thought would be the likely effects of the upzoning based on that AIRS schedule if this went through. And we know from the zoning experts that we've talked to before, like Richard Barak and so on, that he's told us that when you're underbuilt by a certain amount compared to what the zoning allows, that leads to demolition. And so we calculated which lots would be likely to get demolished and how much could be built under the new zoning. And we looked at that all across the city. And the results are really, to me, they're really staggering. I mean, there would be an enormous amount that would be demolished throughout our district, but also many other parts of Brooklyn, the Bronx, not so much Manhattan and Queens, but nevertheless, I think there would be some effect in almost every district. Our calculation was that it could lead to about 900,000 new units of housing, which is just it has enormous implications for all kinds of infrastructure, for traffic. I mean, I don't think anybody would be able to drive anymore. You can sort of see where they're going with all of this congestion.
I'm gonna have to cut you off. Let me just, again, I don't think you understand what I'm saying in terms of the subcommittee. When you bring back the report, you got maybe about 5 minutes to report like what it is that what you looked at, what it is at the present, and what you are recommending. And again, we also, you know, we need to have minutes too to see what it is.
So what I'll submit the happy to submit the minutes. What we're recommending is that we send a list of these questions and concerns to city planning. The committee also wanted to foil city planning just on anything to do with the City of Yes, and they want to foil the mayor's office too. So that's what the committee's recommending, that we send a list of questions to city planning and that we just do a broad foil statement.
Well, I guess I'm misunderstanding what this committee is really supposed to be all about. And the reason is I thought that you were going to be reviewing the 77 pages because that's what's important, and to find out what it is that they are proposing. Either we as a community board, we are for or against, and why.
Well, no, I'm
not understanding where all this other
okay,
stuff
but
is
no. So you're getting you're talking about the Citizens Budget Commission proposal, which is a private. I think Fred called it a private industry white paper. So this is something that some people in the real estate industry are lobbying for. What we talked about was the City of Yes zoning text amendments that were proposed by the Department of City Planning,
Right.
and they
Okay, let
held
me cut you off. My
2
point is
public
that I don't want to
information
spend,
sessions.
yeah, in this meeting, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time because right now, I mean, I wouldn't, at this point, without your minutes and stuff, I wouldn't recommend anything in terms of what's going towards the board, because I'm fully don't even know what you're talking about. And all I'm saying to you is that when you are bringing something forward, if you're looking at the printed material that is been out there, 77 pages of it.
No, we're
and-
not
and they-
talking about that at all. We're talking
thought
about the
that's what you
City
would
of
be
Yes
talking
zoning
about.
text amendments.
Well, that's part of it.
No, what they were talking about was an entirely different set of proposals. We're talking about what the Department of City Planning presented to the public in 2 information sessions in October,
Okay,
and it's on their website too.
I guess I'm on 2 different pages. Warren?
Hey, everybody.
Mm.
I just wanted, nothing to do with this conversation, but in terms of CB9, we were discussing today the time frame for a final report. I didn't have time to speak with Pat, and if there are any comments, please comment, Pat. But we're looking for some sort of conclusion on this and final report on, I would say probably April. And the reason for that timing is that things are coming down pretty quickly. The mayor and planning are making certain statements. So if you could just remain focused on what you need to do and look at the, let's say, April 15th, which is also tax day. All right, as a time to do this.
Okay.
So, all right. And if not, let us know.
Esteban?
Thank you.
Hello? You got to
Yeah.
unmute yourself, though.
Yeah, I got you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. I think one of the things that's kind of not getting communicated is that we don't have a whole lot of information. They did not really like flesh out this proposal. It's all very, very much up in the air. So what we're doing is requesting that information so that we know what we could even report back. Like we don't know any details about anything. They haven't released any of that information. So part of this is trying to get that information so that we can make the report, as opposed to having it. We basically have like a series of sort of vague proposals. So, and I just want to also add that I was at the State of the State address. I just got back from Albany. The governor has also now proposed a half-mile radius around every transit hub, or literally every train station in the entire state, as completely undoing all their zoning. So, so we have to contend with that as well. So,
Okay, I'm going to move on. Again, I'm just going to ask y'all to kindly get your minutes in, because to be very honest with you, I'm kind of lost as to what you're even talking about. And I thought you basically was also going to be looking at that, also that what they put out, what the New York City land use decisions process that came out. It's like 70 some odd pages. So I guess we're on 2 different pages here. So anyway, if you can get those minutes out and we'll look at what you're recommending. Anybody else have anything before they move on? I wasn't out at the meeting, so I don't know what it is you're talking about. Yes, John.
Just one, we had just had one meeting. So it was really a bit of an introduction to sort of the problem that has been presented to us. So yeah, we have not reached full final conclusions yet. We're still in these investigation stage. And so, we're all very interested. We're all very activated on this. And I'm hoping by April, we'll have a very good report for CB9.
Well, I didn't really put a time on it, and we didn't vote on the time. But
Right.
So what I'm asking you all to do is, because like I said, I'm not really sure as to what this subcommittee is actually doing. And, to present something, we need to know we need to be on the same page. If you just started, then you got to kind of, have your minutes. And then when you report into the large committee, which is us, it would be just a briefing.
Mhm.
And just remember anything
Executive
that
summary, kind of.
right, anything, because, and the reason that we also need materials, because remember now, even though we may put a motion on the floor here, we still have to bring it forward to the executive committee. And then we
Okay.
also have to bring it forward to the board. We can actually do nothing except recommend and get it voted on.
Right.
But
Okay.
again, I want to thank all of you all for, taking this project on, but I think it needs some more work.
Okay, so when I send my minutes to you, I'll send you the list of questions that we came up with and the request to make a FOIL statement. And I'll also just do like a 1-paragraph summary of what the City of Yes text amendments are. And it's also on City Planning's website if you want to take a look, but I'll give you my
How many
summary.
pages? How many pages is that?
No, I'll give you a 1-paragraph summary.
No, but I'm
of
saying if you wanted
our,
to read it yourself, how many
There-
pages?
there's not a document. There's two videos of public information sessions that are on YouTube. I'll send you the link to that as well.
Okay. That'd be good. Well, you could put it in your
Yeah.
minutes so that everyone will be reading it,
Yeah,
besides myself.
absolutely.
Okay, I
yeah.
want to thank you all. And when is your next meeting?
We have not decided on a next meeting date yet. Do you guys want to toss out some dates now?
I can do that. You can't do it in my meeting. Y'all have,
Okay,
so what I'm asking you
okay,
to do is when you have your meetings,
okay,
try to look at your calendar and try to make your next
Okay.
meeting date, before you come in front of us, and
Okay.
that way you'll say, if y'all want to attend, the next meeting date is
Okay.
blah, 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 blah.
okay.
Okay?
All right,
Very
so we'll
cool.
send around the email after the meeting, and everybody, please respond promptly because we need to give notice to the board office.
Okay, Mia, you want to say something?
I was going to tell them to check their email. I actually sent an inquiry to them.
You did?
Okay,
Okay.
thank
Yeah.
you, Mia.
Yeah,
Check
you
your
could do,
email, guys.
y'all could do that before you
Yeah.
meet with us, okay? So I don't think Alicia is here this evening. I don't know if anybody else knows anything about this update on this pending court case. Just that Franklin Avenue rezoning, and I know they went back to court, but I'm not sure exactly.
No,
So I don't think.
hi, this is
Hi,
Nicola.
Nicola. Hi, how you doing?
Good, thank you. Happy New Year, everyone.
Mhm.
We're basically waiting. They filed an appeal. The second department overruled Judge Bodie. And we filed an appeals with the appeals court and waiting to hear back from them. So
Okay, so
that's where we
You
stand
filed
with
an
that.
appeal on what? I mean, what is it that you're appealing?
We're appealing the second department's overruling of Judge Bodie's. Judge Bodie had repealed the rezoning based on the fact that the numbers in that city planning approved did not, the number of apartments were higher than what would have normally triggered a full environmental assessment. They overruled based on basically city planning provided an affidavit saying we're the experts and we think that 1,000 square foot average is the average size of an apartment outside of Manhattan. And that's what they used to base the number of units that would be part of that development. And that number was lower than the trigger number. So we are appealing that decision with the appeals court, because basically if that goes through, it not only has ramifications for the Franklin Avenue rezoning, but basically any rezoning going forward, because the developer could put one set of numbers in the application, not have to do an assessment, especially with City of Yes, because they are now trying to have as of right development for any projects that are under, say, 250 units. So if you can put that in, get your application approved, and then when it's time to build, come back with a whole new set of plans and a higher number of potential apartments.
Okay.
And there would be no environmental assessment. So we're trying to appeal, and she's waiting to hear back from the appellate's court.
Okay, great. Good luck with that one, because I think that takes,
Mhm.
wow, I'm not sure how long it takes.
Yeah, this
But-
is, it's a while, and it's they only accept maybe 5% of the cases, so it's a long shot, but we're trying because as I said, the broader long-term ramifications for the city is very hard, because this would set a precedent that I'm sure developers would climb onto.
Okay, but meanwhile, does the work go forward or does it just stand still? I mean, what is the developer gonna do while this is going on? Does it go forward? Does it stand
Technically,
still?
there's no TRO. We couldn't get a TRO. No development that we're aware of has started. So we'll see. Don't know if they're waiting to hear the results of the appeal. Don't know what's happening from the developer side.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions to Nicola before we move on? Mr. Thomas?
Yes, does that imply that if the developer divides up his project into 249 unit parcels, that he can effectively avoid all environmental review?
We're talking about two different things. Under City of Yes,
No,
because then you can have as of right, small
Right.
projects. And,
Right.
just with Franklin Avenue, they didn't want to consider the Cornell Realty project in association with the Franklin Avenue project over the two separate developments, even though we knew that they were connected.
right,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Thank you. Suki?
Sorry.
Nicola, I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that the seeker manual specifies like a unit size that they use for the analysis, and it's like 700 something. It's not 1,000. And so if they're trying to change their own manual, that's a question. The other thing
Yep.
is, I don't know if you're all aware that the Spice Factory site has been bought by a nursing home operator. So that might not actually be residential, and it's kind of interesting to think about why.
I thought it was bought by Cornell.
Yeah, the nursing home is additional funding, but Cornell's part of it as well.
Yeah, Cornell purchased the property outright.
So do we
Um,
think it's going to be residential, or is it going to be nursing home?
I have no
I think it's still
idea.
gonna be, we don't know. I'm assuming it's going to stay residential, but who
Just remember
knows?
that Cornell put the application in and then not withdrew it, but basically sold it. And probably will do the same thing again. So, I mean, we're just, they're basically just copying the playbook that they did for the other rezoning. So all of this gets real complicated now because it involves the Spice Factory. So.
Okay, so we're gonna move on, but I just wanna, let me see if I got this correct. So, the temporary restraining order, you're saying that at this point, nothing has been done at this point?
The courts did not approve a temporary restraining order.
At this point, so right, so at the end of the day, if that doesn't come into effect, they can start building. Am I correct with that? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I wanted to know. Okay, all right. Okay, we'll see where that goes. You'll keep us updated. Okay, any more questions before we move on? Okay, so we can move on. Thank you, Nicola.
You're welcome.
On non-attendance on committee members. Again, I did submit Rashida Sykes' name in, I don't know how many times to the district office. And I have not gotten anything back in writing. So we will mark her again absent. And we'll be waiting for written material. to come back to our committee to say she's officially off. And I have not gotten that yet.
Hey, Pat, it's
Yes.
Warren.
That's fine.
Everything you said has been received. I believe that Dante has told me that they are, doing everything for the database for all the committees, and you should be hearing soon.
Okay, thank you. So meanwhile, we'll continue to,
No, that's the correct action.
yeah, we'll continue to mark her absent until we get the official.
Thank you.
Thank you, Warren. Okay, so now, Asuki, can we do a roll call now? You gotta unmute yourself.
Pat Moses,
I'm here.
Warren Burke,
Here,
Suki Cheong here. Tom Thomas,
Here,
John Craver,
Here.
Esteban Hiron,
Here,
Nicola Cox,
Here.
and Rashida Sykes is absent.
All right.
So we've got a full house apart from Rashida.
I'm gonna brag on us. To me, we have the best attendance with all committees. I'm bragging. We do. You look,
Pat, I think we're gonna get you a plaque if that goes up for June.
we're proud of ourselves. We do come to meetings.
As you
And
should
we get
be.
guests too.
Oh, yes, and we do. And we definitely welcome our guests. So now we're going to do the committee members. If you have any concerns, it's now your turn before the residents come on. So any committee concerns? Committee members? Any
yeah, so
concerns,
just
update? Okay, Mr. Thomas first.
yes, I'm concerned about the implications of dumping 900,000 units into small transit-oriented sites, and at the same time eliminating parking requirements without knowing what that's going to do to traffic on the streets and implications about sanitation and other kinds of traffic-oriented concerns. So I guess that falls into Suki's domain in what they're looking at.
Yeah.
Fall into your domain.
I mean, one of the questions that I asked in the public information session was whether they had done any kind of environmental impact analysis, and they said, yes, we will.
Inshallah.
So anyway,
But
I guess our committee can look into it for you.
yeah, I mean, if you're one of
just
the
to-
5 neighborhoods that isn't going to be required to build anything, you will be stuck in your neighborhood because you won't be able to drive. I think
That's not nice.
I think that's the implication.
Nicola.
One of the things I keep going back to is the fact that ZQA is not new. It's been out there for several years and it's had very few takers. So I'm not sure if that is, and expanding the affordability categories, is that going to be enough to get developers to bite and put in this type of development? I think that's why Alicia was asking the question. She's thinking that there has to be an additional carrot for developers, additional footage, height, something that will make this appealing enough to them for them to want to go through the trouble of doing these tear downs and rebuilds.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things going on here. The first is that one of the reasons the ZQA program wasn't widely used is that HPD took a really long time to implement the term sheets. If you look at all of the developments that there's 3 developments in our district that did use ZQA. They all came to our committee to people on those blocks came to complain. And when we looked at them, I found that they each had to have a written agreement with HPD, but HPD didn't put out the term sheets for that agreement until very late, like maybe 2018 or 2019. And then there was a fair housing lawsuit that stopped it in 2021. So there was there wasn't much of a time window. People didn't know when they were going to be able to do it. Not too many people really were planning on it. That's number one. Number two, I think Esteban might have mentioned this as well before. We had 421A up until July of 2021, and people could build quote unquote affordable housing at 130% of AMI and get a tax break. Why would they bother doing affordable housing at 80% of AMI, which is what ZQA wanted, not get the tax break and get a relatively small upzoning? So I think that's why it was not more widely used before, but they're going to try to get around the lawsuit by expanding the amount of affordability, and now we don't have 421A. So it could be much worse.
Okay, thank you. Esteban?
Yeah, so about 421A,
You're mute.
apparently- so there's the new thing right now is the governor's plan is called, can you not hear me?
Now we
Now we
can.
Okay, sorry about that. So what the governor proposed today was something called the New York Housing Compact. It's a whole separate plan from what all the stuff that we've been looking at, but it would affect obviously everything that we're talking about. Like I said, it includes the same half-mile provision to any MTA rail station. It has a fast-track approval process for this is mostly for smaller localities, but it sets like growth goals over the course of 3 years that and it's different for upstate and downstate. And based on those goals, if you don't reach those goals, then they literally undo all the zoning and can do whatever they want. Like, it's a 100% developer giveaway. It also includes developers coming up with a version of 421A that they like. So it's really, really bad. It's worse than City of Yes. And we need to study it. They haven't released all that many details, but that's expected within the next couple of days. So yeah, it's kind of like throwing everything right back into the ether there. So Kathy Hochul is 100% funded by developers, and she gave them exactly what they wanted. So it doesn't look great.
Warren?
Hey, hi. I just want to give some constructive suggestions. My first one is that I'm hearing a lot of history that was, and what we really have to look at what is and what's ahead. I suggest to follow the money. For example, and this is just my personal opinion, and I don't have the expertise of other people at this meeting, but if you take the environmental impact statement, of course they want to get rid of it, okay? Because it eliminates time and it adds more money to their project. So instead of looking back at what was, let's take a look at what is, and where the developers are going to get their incentives, and then write about that. Just my personal opinion. Thank you.
Any other issues before we go to public? This is
Just to comment on Warren, we completely agree with you. That's what we're trying to do. The problem is not that much information out there. A lot of smoke and mirrors right now, a lot of vague concepts without a lot of meat and detail to really understand what they are truly trying to do. So that's why we have the list of questions, and we're trying our best to probe and find out.
Yeah, as I said, it was constructive, certainly not an evaluation, but I just wanted to put my 2 cents in based on my experience.
okay. Everybody's putting
Thank
their
you.
2 cents. It's good. Now
Also, just want to say that there is coordination happening between the state and the city. The mayor and the governor, they're clearly on the same page. They're talking about the same things. So
I agree.
that's important. Yeah, something to look out
Esteban,
for.
when I read about the governor's thing today, I just said, they're writing things out, and we better identify what's important to us. And the most important thing that I think is that we're still involved in the ULURP process as a community board. And we have to think about keynotes which we can put forward and fight for. Thank you.
Okay. Somebody's background. No, is it Naomi? Okay, thank you. Suki?
So in terms of what is going to happen in the future, I actually did send out some materials to this subcommittee. The Department of City Planning did make some projections for population and what they think is the needed amount of housing going into the future. The new census numbers have come in for 2022, and it's clear that New York City has lost a lot of people. The new estimate for our population is not 8.8 million, it's 8.47 million. And so if you look at those numbers, and if you look at the new housing projections that are out from the Department of City Planning versus the number of housing units that we have, which come from HPD, the number that needs to be built is nowhere near 800,000 for the state, which also lost population. And it's like maybe 55,000 for the entire city over the next 20 years. So I can send you the new census estemates, to the whole committee. But looking into the future, that's what they're seeing. I mean, I agree with Esteban that these numbers of 800,000 and 900,000, whatever, it's just complete smoke and mirrors.
Well, let me just say something. And again, I guess I also thought that the subcommittee was going to look at that New York City land use decision-making process. And the reason I say that is because if you really read it, what's getting ready to take place is all in that 70 some odd page layout that they have. And it's also, from what I was reading, it limits a lot of what's going to happen in terms of community boards. So I thought that was like really important, Nicola. And that's why I thought that y'all were looking into that too, because that's going to give you an idea as to how, see, Yes didn't come up from nowhere. Yes came up from this whole thing. And if you kind of look as to what's going on, you can kind of break it down as to what we're looking at in terms of the land use committee, because we're not going to have too much say so on anything if this comes through. So that's why I thought take a look.
Right.
At it. Yes, Nicola.
And that's where we started, BLAST or the uniform, whatever. That's where we started. That was the first document that came out. Then City of Yes came out. So as I think Esteban and others have said, it seems as if that document was basically a real estate developer's wish list. But now when we look at City of Yes, and then there's another Getting Things Built, those seem to be where the city Department of Building, City Planning have looked at those recommendations, and these are the things that they're looking to move forward with. So that's why we started focusing on City of Yes and other documents, because those are the things that they seem to be taking action on. We haven't seen anything where they have talked about removing the community board from the process and any of their recommendations from city planning or the mayor's office. So we have that document, we know it's out there, but we've been trying to address where Mayor Adams and others seem to be focusing their energy right now.
And the only reason I say that it runs in conjunction with it is because what you're saying, a lot of the things that the city cannot even do by themselves. It takes the state also to photo. So that's why, to me, it's important. You got to look at exactly where we are. If you talk about yes, okay, where are we now? And then look and see what they recommended, because we get little bits and pieces of it. And so then you got to see, like, well, who they're gonna tell you in that document who has to vote for what. So if it has the state and the city voting, they need those two votes. If it's only the city voting, then you need just the city voting. So you gotta look at to see who's gonna be voting on what. If it's state, city ain't got nothing to do with it, the state can vote on it and can just move it right along. So so this is why I'm saying that use that document also, even when you're looking at, yes. If you look at it, because believe me, it's coming out of that. And so, like I said, even if you wrote right now to the city, they said, oh, well, you know, we haven't, it takes this and it takes this to vote for, and so-and-so has to prove it. So we need to know exactly what the process, and that document tells us going forward, like what process is needed, you know, and just about everything is in there.
Taken.
And so
Okay.
they give you little bits and pieces, in my opinion, it's only my opinion, to throw you off. But that's the document. That document, and then refer back to it and see how it's matching up, and see who has to vote on it, and then we can know how to move forward with it. That's just my opinion. That's it. Anything else before we move on? Because I would definitely like to get the community in on oh, before I go to the community, I think it did come out from the district office. There's going to be a public scope meeting for Kingsborough Psychiatric Center mixed use project. That's scheduled for January the 19th from 6 to 8 p.m. So if people want to know how this project is going to take place, they're having a public scope meeting. I think it was sent out to all of the board members. But I think that, well, I don't know exactly how. Well, yeah, there's a link. So I think we all need to be aware of what's going on there.
That's unfortunately the date for our bylaws revision.
Yes, but we can have the people, community people can also, can go, like, we can go at least from 6 to 7.
Part of the time, yeah.
Part of the time, but other people in terms of the committee, I mean, in terms of people that live in the community,
Hopefully
they can
they'll
also
go.
be aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
Mia, will y'all be posting that so that, you know, so that people that, well, that's going to be January 19th.
Yes, we will post the information. Empire State Development actually attended last night's housing committee meeting. We had about 90 people there. So people are definitely interested in being heard with regard to this project and its impact on the district.
So so can that information be just like put out so that the people from the community, they really need to
Sure thing. We can
be
get it
a
on the
part of
website
this?
and include it on the weekly e-blast as well, so people can tune in or participate or provide testimony, whatever they choose to do.
Right, because they're also going to have a public comment period, and that's going to be like in February 21st, starting at 5 p.m. So if you can kind of get in on it, I'm going to try and get in on it at 6, although I may have to leave, but still someone else can like report back to us as to what happened there. Okay. So now we're going to go to the community resident concern. If you would like to say something, please raise your hand. No one has anything to say. Michael, you don't have anything to say?
I'll say Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year. You don't want to say, you have nothing to say, or any
No.
updates on anything, or?
No, just Happy New Year to you all.
Okay.
I appreciate you all as always. And thanks, Ms. Pat, for running a tight meeting as usual.
Thank you. Andrew, you have nothing to say? Guess not. I'm trying to get people to.
Sorry, I was I was on mute. No, I was in the City of Yes subcommittee. So I just wanted to see how that information was presented. From what Esteban was saying about Governor Hochul's kind of rapid expansion and deployment of housing across the state, it reminds me a lot of California's attempt to do, like, I guess called builder's remedy, but they have a very different land use regulatory and community approval process over there. But even though that was, that came out almost 10 years ago, now, like 10 years later, we're seeing some of the first battles over that. So instead of looking backward and looking forward or looking, I guess, across the country, I'd be curious to see what similarities. I haven't gotten a chance to dig into the weeds, though.
Okay.
Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. There's the
housing
stuff going on in
element?
California. Yeah, it's California is basically 10 years ahead of what's going on here right now in terms of how they've tried to approach this issue. So yeah, and these fights have been happening repeatedly there as well. There's a lot of similarities that we can draw. So I think that it'd be good to take a look at that.
Yeah, I would love to stay. I'll report it the next time we have a City of Yes subcommittee. We can talk about it.
Cool.
Okay, great. So they'll be having a meeting soon for February, I guess. Listen, there's so many, this is my whole thing. There's so many things going on at one time. So it's kind of hard to keep up with what's going on. So we're here, we're there, so I have to do my homework, because I'll tell you, even with I didn't hear anything in terms of what the governor was speaking about today. So I have to get updated as to what that's all about. I didn't listen to that either. So I will try to do my homework.
Isn't the borough president's meeting tonight too? Reynoso? His state of the borough.
Oh,
Yes,
right,
there's
that was
a-
tonight. Right, that was.
And he has a plan. He has ideas too. So everybody's trying to get some development going.
But we definitely going to do our best to try to keep up to date what's happening with the land use committee. This is really important, and I don't know. Like I said, I would definitely want the community residents to if you know about a meeting that we're not involved in, attend the meeting, come back and talk with us. Let's get together and put our heads together and see what we can come up with. I guess that's about it. Suki, you want to say something? And don't take it long either.
I definitely hear you, Pat, that there seems to be things coming at us from every level and we can barely keep up with it. And I feel really strongly that we should be proactive instead of reactive. If we want more opportunities to review, if we want tougher environmental review, if we want for the community board to be more involved in certain things, I think that we should make that clear. We shouldn't just sit back and say, oh my God, they're taking things away from us. I think we should be making proposals that we want more. Because to me, this feels like a giant negotiation, and they're slamming down, the nuclear weapons on the table, and we're just kind of running away. We don't have anything, to push back with.
Okay. Police? Is that Ms.
No,
Rogers?
I just echo what she's saying there. It's true. We should have some sort of, yes, Suki, correct. Sorry about that. I echo what she's saying. We should have some sort of policies of our own, because everybody's just running amok.
So are you available to attend their meetings that they're having?
What day is that?
She's gonna let you know soon. It's gonna be in February though, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll put you on.
They'll have to check with the district office and then let people know. But again, for those people that can attend the meeting on, what is it, the 19th? Please, because of the board, we can't attend. We have to attend our meeting on the 19th. But again, I'm going to stress that it's important that we try to keep up with what's going on so fast. I'm not really sure myself. So I got a lot of homework to do also. Anyone else from the community want to bring something to our attention that has to do with land use? Okay, there's no one else. Naomi?
I'm
you have
sorry, Miss Pat, I'm sorry. I just realized can I mention something? I don't know if it
Yes,
was mentioned,
Michael.
I don't know if it was mentioned earlier, but the folks at MTOP have an event happening tomorrow night around land use.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's I believe Professor Ignati, Alicia Boyd, and some other folks. I think it's about like the CS. I think WBAI I think is also involved as well. So just wanted to mention that.
Because how do they attend? That particular meeting? Is it online or what? I mean, what's going on there? What are you?
I believe it's a strictly Zoom thing. I guess there's not a chat, so I can't put the link in there, but I guess if folks go to the MTOP social medias, the Instagram
Or-
and their Twitter, it should be on
Or
there.
mtop.org has the information on it.
What is it?
mtop.org, MTOP's website. It's at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. It's a town hall with WBAI, starting to talk about the city of Yes and the implications based on what we know so far.
Okay. So that's tomorrow at 7 o'clock for those that want to attend. Again, they can get the information. Say it again on
mtop.org, or as Michael mentioned, any of the social media pages also has the information on it, but the link will be there.
Okay, so that's kind of like what kind of meeting is it though? I mean, you say
It's a town hall.
But it's a town hall meeting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you for the information. Anyone else before we close out? Okay, so our next meeting date will be February 14th. That's Valentine's Day. So y'all bring my flowers online so I can see it. So it's set for February 14th at 7 p.m.
Mia, I sent the link to the MTOP thing. I don't know if you could maybe send it out to the committee. It just has the link for the Zoom.
I'll send it out now. I got it. You sent it to BL9?
Oh no, I think I sent it to you
Okay, got it. Okay.
directly. Yeah. All right, cool.
Okay, so if there's no more, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry, Esteban, you gave us.
Yes.
Okay, can I get a second?
I second.
Okay, so the meeting is officially closed at 7:58. I want to thank all you all for coming. And Suki, send me my homework, please, and your minutes. That way I won't look so dumb, like not knowing what's going on.
No one is dumb. No one is dumb.
Your advice is always appreciated and shrewd, Pat.
So I want to say good night to everybody and thank you
Good
for coming,
night.
and
Bye,
we'll talk
Pat.
again.
Yes.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night,
Good
everyone.
night.
Take care.
Good night.